I'm kind of on a roll here, so I'm just going to keep going. Um, I was a few weeks back, it'll be much later when you see this, but during Christmas, I had a huge breakthrough in my cooking career, which was that I made a complete Danish Christmas dinner. And a Christmas dinner usually consists of a duck and other stuff. The point of this talk is that I got this duck, right? We bought a duck, a full on duck. And I'd never actually experienced seeing a whole duck and handling it and sort of preparing it to eat myself just from start to finish. Um, and in Danish, we have a word which is grænseoverskridende, which means it's breaking the border. So it's like it's pushing your limits, or like it's sort of making you a bit uncomfortable because it's new to you and it changes you a little bit. And it was in handling this duck, which was about the size of a small human baby. That was the first thought that came into my head, which was very morbid. And just for me, not usually handling food, and then thinking about this, that for all intents and purposes, like this could have been a little human baby. Instead, it was a duck, and probably an older duck, but who knows? I'm not a duck expert. Um, but it just made me very conscious of this fact that, like, wow, we really are eating not people, but we're eating animals. Like, we're eating other sentient beings. And I don't want to piss off vegetarians or vegans or meat lovers. Um, but there is something to be said for the fact that, like, it's just like sex is a very important, powerful thing. Eating meat is a very powerful and important thing. Uh, in our culture, we can kind of take both for granted and act like they're not a big deal, but they are a big deal. Um, Sex with a person. I won't talk about that now because that's a whole other thing. But that's a very intimate and very important. It's a big deal. And right now you can just sort of fuck everybody, but like, it's a very meaningful and a very grænseoverskridende thing. um, and the same thing with eating meat. You know, holding this duck and sort of having to rub the salt in it and sort of almost caress it everywhere. Strange word to use, but like that's the only thing I can think of. Um, I just realized that, man, we're killing a lot of animals. A lot of, not people, but animals, which are basically people. I mean, we're all animals. And now, I'm not, I'm not pro-vegetarianism or pro-veganism or anything like that, because, and I don't know if I'm right, but I don't think it's totally healthy, and maybe there is a way, but I haven't gotten to that yet. And I also have a lot of love and respect for the culture of eating meat. Um, but if you want to eat meat, I think you also, on the other hand, you have to be appreciative of that food, which is very hard to do when you're not seeing it. Growing up in Nunavut, you see how much Inuit people love meat and how much they love food and really treasure it. But in the rest of the world, I mean, here in the South, food is just something you do. People would almost rather take a pill. And then you sort of lose out on not just the cultural stuff, but just also the connection you have with animals. So, and I know that science is starting to prove all of this with mindful eating and things like that. Um, Now, even though I'm not a vegetarian, I do think that in 100 years, when we look back on this day and age, we're going to say, like, yeah, the industrial meat complex, or whatever it's called, is probably the worst thing humans have ever done. You know, just decades and centuries of torture of animals so that we can mindlessly eat them. And I'm not saying the meat industry is bad. I mean, they could be doing things better, but we're not free from that guilt either. We don't buy the organic grass-fed meat. We buy the cheap stuff. We go to McDonald's. That's creating an incentive for the meat production to happen. So so unless you are a vegetarian, I mean, it's very hard to get mad at anything. And every dollar is a vote. People are talking about elections and voting and stuff, and that's great. Um, but every dollar is a vote towards something you value. And if animal if animal safety and comfort and dignity is something that you care about, you would either, if you're able to, you would probably become vegetarian or vegan. I disagree with veganism for a few other reasons. Full respect for it, but I think it's weird. um, so yeah, it just made me realize holding that duck. It's very weird, very weird. But it was delicious. So I might be going to hell. I don't know. Take care.